If you saw someone hitting themselves, punching themselves, would you tell them to stop? Just curious. If you saw somebody ramming themselves into the corner of a table, ramming their junk into the corner of a table, and that person looked at you and they were like, this is brutal, would you call awareness to the fact that they're doing it to themselves? Would you say, you can easily stop running your junk into the corner of that table? I would. If I saw somebody hitting themselves repeatedly and asking for help, saying, I can't stop, this is brutal, this hurts so much, I would say, well, you can clearly stop. Just stop doing that. Do you need some help? And sometimes people need help seeing who they are. Sometimes their mirror is a bit foggy. Foggy mirror. And if you don't listen to the podcast Diary of a CEO, who listens to that? I don't know who in their right mind listens to the podcast Diary of a CEO, but it's a thing. And I support people having their voice heard. I support everybody having a podcast. But Mrbeast went on this podcast, Diary of a CEO, and explained how the normal person, the average person, would just collapse in his shoes. They'd not be able to bear the high stakes stress of being a CEO. This article that I linked down below, this article basically takes excerpts and summarizes Mrbeast's interview in the podcast Diary of a CEO, which I did not link to. I would not advise anyone to listen to Diary of a CEO podcast. Good morning, Kevin. Good to see you. Talking about Mrbeast and the article in Fortune magazine. Of course, Fortune magazine covered this article with Mrbeast, this interview with Mrbeast. But Mrbeast alleges that it's really tough to be him. A guy with 370 million subscribers. I can imagine managing a YouTube channel like that. Hard. Coming up with creative, original content must be hard. That's why he doesn't come up with any original content. He just says, we're going to do a game show they did on Netflix on YouTube. And then we're going to bring it back to streaming. Like they stole an idea from streaming to put it on YouTube. And then Mrbeast did so well with somebody else's idea that streaming pulled it back. I don't know. I don't get it. But managing a channel with 370 million subscribers got to be tough. That's probably why he has a team of people. That's why the accusations against working for Mrbeast are what they are. That people are like, he works us around the clock. He's brutal. And I've always said this is a top-down. I mean, the Mrbeast enterprise is his name. It is him. It is Jimmy Jonathan James Donald son. So Mrbeast, in this article in Fortune magazine and the interview he did, sometimes you wonder if people are even closely aware of how they sound. Because yes, it's hard managing any YouTube channel, right? It doesn't matter, 1 subscriber to 370 million. You're creating content. And most people, unlike Mrbeast, are creating original content or bringing original thought. So that's got to be tough. Then he runs Willy Wonka's Jimmy John's Chocolate Factory, or whatever it is. And then he owns the burger joint. And he just goes down the list of all the things of like how hard it is. And in the Fortune magazine, that article, he's quoted as saying, a loose quote, something along the lines of like, sometimes I just want to sit and play a board game. Mrbeast says this in the podcast Diary of a CEO, which was summarized down in the article by Fortune magazine. He says, sometimes I just want to sit and play a board game and I don't have time, and I think in 4 days I'll do it. And you just want to shake him, or this is how you know he has bad people around him. Like his team of people is not healthy for him, and he is not healthy for his team of people. This is what you call a toxic workplace. So Mr. Beast's quote of saying, I just want to play a board game and I can't. He owns the business. Nobody's forcing his hand. He started all these business. You almost want to be like, is this guy serious? Is this like a serious complaint? He's the boss. If he had a medical emergency, I'm pretty sure he'd be like, I can't do stuff today. And if he didn't, that's extremely sickening. But it's amazing because it's the equivalent of hearing Mr. Beast saying, I can't stop punching myself. I can't stop punching myself in the face. And the normal person would never be able to punch himself in the face this much and be able to deal with it. And I go, yeah, because most people aren't that stupid. Like if you're burning out, there's proof. There's scientific economic studies of burnout and how having a 3-day weekend helps with burnout, helps with injuries at the workplace. Like there's all this scientific proof. So it just goes to show either he's really young and dumb or he's just dumb. Because at any time Mr. Beast could go, I'm not scheduling anything for Monday. I'm taking Saturday through Monday off. I'm going to play a board game. He acts like he has no control over the Mr. Beast enterprise, and it's hilarious. It truly is hilarious. Like if you read or listen to Mr. Beast's latest interview, it's in the Fortune magazine. I'm going to have to, hold on. Oh my God. Is that it? Is it just trolls? Shouldn't you 13-year-olds be in school? Shouldn't you kids be in school? Or unless it's Mr. Beast's friends, which then I would expect that kind of behavior. Being a CEO is tough, but acting and pretending like you have zero control over the companies you birthed out of your economic vagine is just silly. It's just silly. What's up, Squeaky Wheel? Others have done research. They say if you keep your workers busy, they don't have time to be tired. Listen, Squeaky Wheel, I know you're joking about that because you said so. But if you didn't see Sergey Brin from Google or some techno bro, the Sergey Brin guy who said he found the sweet spot of having his employees work 60 hours a week. And I'm like, listen, you fucking moron. That's just foolish. You know, you'd figure a guy who works at Google would know how to Google, but it's proven that like that causes burnout. It causes higher turnover rate. It causes people to quit. It causes people to hate work. So I know you like we joke about it because, you know, I don't know, common sense as people who have worked 60 hours a week. But these guys think like that's the sweet spot, working 60 hours a week. And they think that's where they get people to be more productive. And the hilarious thing is like you can simply just look at all the experiments in the UK was one. They went down to a 4-day work week and companies are not going back because of how productive and how much better work became. But it's just weird to think that like, you know, 100 years ago when people were working 7 days a week, they went down to 5 days a week for a reason, you know, and they stayed at 5 days a week for decades, almost or a century about. And they must have done that for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny that these people who claim to be smart, they're like, I'm a CEO, I'm smart, I'm rich, I'm smart. How can I not be smart? I'm rich and a CEO. And you're like, you're just ignoring basic history at this point. Like basic history of like workers were going from 7 days a week, no time off, to 5 days a week for a reason. You know, fatalities, injuries went down at work, burnout, turnover, all these things. The fact that once you have people that have a weekend, they can consume products you're making. It's like simple common sense stuff. Even 40 hours a week it's way too long. And 100 years ago, they thought we would, by 2022, we'd be working 15 hours a week. So it just goes to show that it's like, it's the media and these people who have the ability, that's the other thing with this Mrbeast article, have the ability to say, I'm going to take a week off. They don't have to put in for vacation time. They can just take the vacation if you own the company. You don't need to get approval from anyone if you own the company. So it's hilarious that Mrbeast, you almost wish he didn't go on the Diary of a CEO podcast and he like came on some podcast where, I don't know, even my line of questioning, like, well, why don't you just take a vacation? It sounds like you have burnout with it, which is unhealthy. You're not going to, like, this is what I would have asked him. I would have said, well, do you think burnout affects the quality of your content? Because if all you care about is quality, right? I saw his latest video. I didn't watch it, but I scroll through YouTube trending, and it was like, we survived 7 days, or we survived 1,000 hours at some, and I'm like, that's all he does. All he does is survive at places or have money competitions. Like, there's no original idea. There's nothing I've seen on Mrbeast in the past decade where I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty original. His Squid Game, his biggest thing, which got him like multinational global recognition. I'm like, that was an actual show. Just watch the actual show. It's already done. He just did a reboot on YouTube. Fuck. Oh my God. Jacob, what's up, man? We're talking about Mrbeast. He did an interview, a podcast called The Diary of a CEO, joke. And they didn't ask him any questions. And they just let him go on about how he's the victim of his own wealth, essentially. Because he said the normal person would have cashed out, took a couple million and cashed out. And he's like, but I have to remind myself to grind and grind and grind. But in the same article, he's complaining. He's saying, sometimes I think I just want to sit and play a board game, but I can't. And maybe I'll do it in 4 days. And I'm like, Mrbeast, your company is called Mrbeast. If you want to stop and play a board game, you can at any time. You don't need okay from someone. You can block out your schedule. For Christ's sakes, you make YouTube videos. Like, you don't even do anything important. Like, this isn't my job, but it's like, if you make YouTube videos, I hate to break it to you, there's no like urgency. If your main niche on YouTube is like, I survived or money competition, and that's all you're putting out, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Mrbeast, but you could take a week off and no one's gonna fucking notice. No one. If anyone sold their soul, Mrbeast did. He truly did. He was no one knew about him. And the unfortunate thing is, Mrbeast, when he started, I've seen those old videos. I'm not saying they were creative in the sense of like you'd want to watch him, but they were unique, you know, like he just watching Jake Paul's, like you could tell he had no sense of creativity even back then, because he would be like, I'm just going to watch Jake Paul's music video for a day, or I'm going to count to 100,000 or whatever he did. And you're like, that's a kid who obviously has drive, but no creativity, like, because he can't think of anything cool. And even his like, I'm giving away homeless money to homeless people is like not original. You know what I mean? Like nothing he's done is original, but he was the Willy Wonka golden ticket boy. And he definitely has the mindset of a CEO, and he definitely has this sick, unhealthy, toxic mindset to like, if you just work hard enough, you'll get there. And what you can tell is like, he's like, maybe his dad didn't love him enough, or there's something there. You know, and that's the really unfortunate thing, is because people who are like this, who can't find happiness and have to keep moving, like there's a bigger issue at play. Just look at all the employees who've been like, working for Mrbeast is miserable. People were like, you know, I had kids and it was Christmas and he was like, keep fucking editing. And you're like, that's a guy who's miserable. You know, that's literally Scrooge. That is literally the character of Scrooge. So there's so much more at play here, but it's just funny that, like, I would be so embarrassed and ashamed if I went on Diary of a CEO and said, yes, I made 85 million in 2024. Yes, I'm filthy rich. But you know, most people couldn't handle this. It's like, no, most people would be smarter than you. Much smarter. And what I mean is, Well, let me go back to my line of questioning. I would say, are you worried about, do you care about the quality of your content? Because that's an obvious softball answer. He's going to say yes. He wants the best content. And then I would say, do you think burnout affects your content? Maybe this is too obvious. I would have to think of it more cleverly. And I'd say, do you think burnout is affecting your content? And if you said no, and I would go, really? Let's go back through and look at your ideas. I would just want to get back to how he's unoriginal. But then I would, if he was like, well, burnout can because, you're doing this, and he would probably have some kind of excuse. Well, we have to meet these criterias. And I would ask, who made up that criteria? Who says you have to release a video a week? Who says you have to? Because the answer is he did. This is his company. Like, he made up, like, if you work for any company, somebody there. This is not like oh, please don't pause. Please don't pause. Come on. I hope I don't lose you. All right. Am I back? Can you hear me? Jacob, can you hear me? Easiest job you could have next to no job. Jacob, let me know. Give me a little thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, perfect. So the thing is if you work for any company, somebody wrote the board, the CEO, somebody wrote their mission statement, their policies, their guidelines, their rules. Somebody did that. This isn't like God gave you a stone tablet with these rules and you have to abide by them for fear of some invisible being like taking your soul. Mrbeast is acting like that. I would be horribly embarrassed if I had to add the answers that he had. If I wasn't like, I'm so blessed. I'm doing everything I want. I wanted a chocolate company. I wanted a burger company. I wanted, 370 mil. I'm so blessed to be doing this. And you know what? I make time to have a life and I make time to work. And he didn't say that. He went and complained. That's the whole summary in the Fortune magazine. Thank you, Squeaky Wheel. When I'm done with the live, read it. I do not suggest listening to the Diary of a CEO podcast. That sounds like propaganda. It sounds like rich people coming on to complain about how hard it is to own a company. It's like, we get that there's work involved. The other thing I want to point out is like, Mrbeast, you didn't come from poverty, but do you understand the stresses of poverty? Like, the stresses of wealth are so different. You understand? Like, he's talking about punching himself in the D and complaining that it hurts. It's like, when you're in poverty, it's everyone else punching you and you can't stop it. He doesn't have to worry about heat going on vacation if he can afford food. In fact, he probably has a chef. He probably has a burger guy that comes for him. When you're in poverty, you have to wonder if you can buy, like, I was thinking yesterday, I was like, holy shit, I usually during the week, I forgot. I was like, I usually eat one meal around 2:00 because that means by the time I eat, I'm hungry enough where I'm like, I have to eat something. I don't feel good. And then if I eat around 2:00, that means the rest of the day, I'm not hungry. So I eat one meal a day and it wasn't even registering with me. It wasn't even registering that, like, my oldest daughter would be like, will you please eat? Like, she'll try to get me something. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even, like, that's how oblivious I was to my own situation. And that's how Mrbeast must be to his own wealth. And I also linked something in Psychology Today down below about the stresses of poverty. But poverty is much different because here's the thing. When you're at Mrbeast level, he has choices. This whole facade of like, you're just a sweaty pig grinding it out. And he said, I feel like a robot to the machine of my own businesses. I'm like, there's the key, buddy. It's your own stuff. Like, I hate to be the one to break this to Mrbeast, but at any time you can go, I'm stopping. At any moment in the day, Mrbeast can say no. When you're in poverty, you don't get to stop. In fact, you're grinding, I would say, harder than Mrbeast. You're working way harder than Mrbeast. People that I know that are in poverty, that are nurses, that are working 2 jobs just to fucking make rent and hopefully have enough for food, they work so much harder than Mrbeast. And there are lives on the line at their work. Mrbeast, I hate to break it to you, but as much as you do these stunts and stuff, there are really not lives. Like, you're not saving lives. You might be endangering lives, but you're not saving lives. And there are people out there, buddy, Mrbeast, I hope you watch this, that are working way harder than you and don't get to collapse or cash out like you said. But that's the key, Mr. Beast. Jimothy, Jacob Johanner Smith Donald's son. Was your dad Donald? Is that where you get Donald's son from? But that's the key, Mr. Beast, is at any time you have a choice. At any moment you can say, nope. When you're broke, when you're working, when you're have different stresses, you don't have the choice. There's no choice. If you stop, the consequences are severe and harsh and immediate. Sorry, I'm not reading the comments. Mr. B is a complete hypocrite. Suffering from success. Well, I just love how he says, like, other people wouldn't be, and the average person wouldn't be able to do it. I'm like, bro, I know much tougher people than you, and those tougher people, because everybody equates toughness to like grinding 100 hours a week, and it's like, that's not tough. Being tough is knowing when you're in burnout. Being tough is knowing that if I go any further, I might make a rash decision. Being tough is knowing that I've done a lot of work, and at this point, I need to rein it in so I don't snap at somebody, so I can keep the work culture good. And what this really highlighted to me, I'll read the other comments in a second, or he says he wants to do it, but he doesn't too. Like, make up your mind. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get ready. Oh man, have a great one, Jacob. Sorry to see you go. Have a great day. It's Friday. Don't work too hard. And I'm sure, I don't mean to fire anybody up. Well, no, you got to get fired up over this. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's get me big enough where I can have Mr. Beast on and I can ask him a line of questioning. But this really puts on full display. Like, I would be horribly embarrassed or just like, wow, I sound stupid if Fortune magazine was putting my photo up, like in the thumbnail, and saying, I feel like a zoo animal at my work. It's like, bro, you don't work for anybody. Buddy. You could tell he's dumb because you don't work for anyone. You work for you. So if you're going, I'm experiencing burnout and I can't stop, how do you think your workers feel? How do you think the people underneath you who aren't making as much as you, who can't dictate their schedule without your approval, how do you think they feel? Because this is a top-down culture. Mr. Beast Enterprises, if you work for him, you're working for the king, the god, the man god, the pharaoh, Mr. King Beast. That's who you work for. And if he's saying, I feel like a robot and a zoo animal to my own businesses, how do you think everybody else feels? I need him to evaluate this because it's glaringly obvious. Like, he's saying, I'm a victim to myself. So that means he's holding other people hostage because I don't think he's treating other people more lenient than he would himself. He's expecting this of the Beast Empire. So one day he can own America and he'll be president. That's coming, folks. That's coming. He's going to buy his way to get president. Well, unless Elon Musk, just becomes the technocratic king. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's horribly embarrassing and very telling that Mr. Beast is like, I can't play a board. Like, the poor guy's a fucking nerd. Okay, here's the thing, he's a nerd, and that's okay. I don't say it in a bad way. I love nerds. I'm nerdy with certain things. He's a fucking board game nerd, and he just wants to sit and play Risk, which I love Risk. We had to put Risk in the garage at my house because when my youngest brother's been homeless for 10 years, if he's even alive. Al, if you see this, let us know you're alive, man. I miss you and I love you, and I got a hole in my heart because I haven't heard from you in a decade. But back when I had two brothers, we would fight so hard over Risk that I ended up hiding it in the garage because we just couldn't do it. And that's tough to me. That's smart to me, is if you know where something's going to go and you can learn from that without having to continually go through the pain of it every time. That's brilliance to me. Sorry, I was just thinking about my brother for a minute. I miss him terribly. My youngest brother. He's been homeless for a long time. So Mr. Beast complaining on a podcast about how he is trapped in the machine of his own devices. I just wish somebody would break it to him, like, bro, at any point, at any moment, you can just stop. You don't work for anybody. You're not creating life-saving medical devices. You're not curing cancer. In fact, YouTube videos, if you change your, if you changed your release dates, 370 million people can wait. It shows you how much Jimmy values himself, really. Like, this whole Mrbeast interview, I was like, wow, he's like a little sadomasochistic, like he enjoys the pain. He wants to suffer. And it's funny because I was just talking about this, that some people, money can't make them happy. Some people, you could give them endless amounts of money and it can't make them happy. Some people, they could have a great family, doesn't make them happy. Some people could go on the best vacation to come back miserable. And some people they have a hole, they're a black hole, they're a void, and they're just trying to fill it. And usually it's because they suffered something that they need people to suffer. Or if they're suffering, like hurt people, that saying. And I think that's him. This is very telling. And I've said this for a long time. And the damning thing is I know the accusations of Mrbeast. I don't know if you watched the Dog Pack 404 here on YouTube. I linked one of his videos down below. I don't know if you went through all those accusations. The wild and crazy ride that was like, very, very, it just seemed very toxic. But this confirms anything that, for anyone who worked for Mrbeast and said like, yeah, it was toxic, like these interviews confirm it. Because if he doesn't know how to make himself have a okay mental space, imagine working for a boss who's miserable, who feels trapped. No, imagine working for someone who owns a company. You work for the guy who started the company, and that guy feels trapped, miserable, like a zoo animal. These are Mrbeast quotes. He feels like a zoo animal. He feels like a robot. He feels, like he's dehumanized himself. Imagine working for someone like closely. Someone who dehumanizes themselves, and you have to witness this, what it would be like. Do you think they're going to humanize everyone else? No. He's dehumanizing himself. Mrbeast, bro, you need a mental day. And don't think that's soft. I think the Joe Rogan sphere has made like having a mental day is a bad thing. It's not, you idiots. I know people in the military. I know very, very, if we want to qualify like tough as like people in the military, I know people that are like elite special force people that are okay with like, you need a mental day. It's just weird. It's usually the men who think they're tough that really haven't experienced too much hardship, but what they think is tough are the ones dictating what is tough and what isn't. And it's brutal to me that to hear this interview of Mrbeast, and because I immediately think of the people that work for Mrbeast. I'm like, man, if Mrbeast feels trapped by releasing videos once a month or whenever he does it, I think it's once a month. And again, I gotta stipulate, none of his videos are original. He doesn't have to worry about a new idea. In fact, he's always going to some location and surviving for 7 days. Here's a hint, Mrbeast. There's a lot of other content you can steal from on YouTube. Like, go look that up. Go steal a different idea, because you've stolen all your ideas. All your ideas are unoriginal, lacking creativity. You just do them bigger. You just do them at an audience for 370 million in different languages. Go steal a different idea, Mrbeast. And it's fine stealing ideas. What's up, Jay Twang, Colden? We're talking about the Mrbeast podcast episode on Diary of a CEO. Nobody listened to that. It's just CEO propaganda. It's really wealthy people complaining about being the victims of being wealthy, which, if you're wealthy, you have a choice. When you're in poverty or working for a living, you have no choice. You don't get to just check out, cash out. Like Mrbeast said, he said the average person would just cash out with a few million and go on their way. And I'm like, well, that's somebody who, obviously, if you're suffering from mental illness because your empire is collapsing on you, then yeah, cash out and get your head right and then come back to the game. That's why he's like, oh, the average person would do that. No, the smart person would do that. If they felt a mental collapse like you're explaining, they would do that for their own well-being, for their own sake, for their own health. But what I was explaining is that poor people don't get to cash out. They don't get to stop. They can't. Working people just have to keep going, or they lose where they live. They don't eat. He's very rich. Jesus. If he's not rich, why are they interviewing on him? Why would they interview somebody who's not a wealthy CEO on the Diary of a CEO podcast? I've never been subbed to Mr. Beast. He always seemed just the average. He's too hyped up. Lots of way better content out there, squeaky wheel. By the way, if you haven't checked out Gary's Economics, yesterday I linked some of his videos today in the description. Please take 7 minutes and watch Gary's Economics. He's such a brilliant mind. I had subbed to Mr. Beast because I kept hearing that if you sub, you get a cookie. So I subbed and waited. And then I got real pissed because I was like, oh, he's lying to all these little kids. Even in his banner, it was a chocolate chip cookie. So it wasn't like a web browser cookie. And I was like, I think 370 million people have a class action lawsuit. And I hated that. I hated that he lied about that. I hated that. And it just showed his character. His lack of creativity, I should say. You know? A creative person would say sub for a cookie, and they would have showed in their banner something saying like your web browser has a cookie installed now, which is fucking hilarious because it probably did, you know. But he's so unoriginal, and that's what bothers me. He's exactly the person who could become the empire of YouTube. Nothing edgy about him except for the way he exploits and abuses his workers. There's nothing edgy, nothing creative. In fact, he was such a safe bet for YouTube, and they knew it when he was like, oh, not only am I going to take other people's ideas and just do them a little bit bigger, but I'm going to take ideas from Netflix, do them on YouTube, and then get promoted to Amazon. It's so funny. It's like he took from streaming to do on YouTube, and streaming saw that and took him to streaming. Does nobody else see that? Am I fucking nuts? Maybe I'm just crazy. That would explain a lot. Maybe you're just watching a crazy person. Do I even exist? Am I existing? Is this real life? I feel like that fucking turtle boy. He's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he's like, a turtle. Did I grow up to be a turtle? Maybe I'm a tortoise somewhere in the Galapagos. Because I just feel like this is so blatantly obvious. Like Fortune magazine, Fortune.com, summarized the podcast where Mr. Beast is saying he feels like a robot and a zoo animal. To what? The company he started? Like, bro, book a vacation. She's like, are you fucking dumb? You do understand that, like, maybe he's like, who do I get my vacation approved from? Maybe he doesn't understand. I know his mom, like, runs the finances, and he said, like, I don't even have a bank account. My mommy does that. He said that on interviews where you're like, holy shit, who is getting advice from this guy? You know, like, he obviously has a lot of smarter people around him. Maybe they're not approving. Maybe, Mr. Beast, do you need help? Blink twice, bro. Maybe he doesn't know how to get his vacation time approved. Oh, poor guy set up a company and he trapped himself in it. But again, it's like punch yourself in the dick and being like, this really hurts. You'd never be able to tolerate it. And it's like, yeah, no shit, because I wouldn't do that. It's like, yeah, I'm not that fucking dumb. I would make a company-wide holiday. I'd be like, guess what? March, holiday. YouTube can wait. Your burger, I'm pretty sure Mr. Beast isn't mixing the chocolate at his Willy Wonka's chocolate bar company. I'm pretty sure Mr. Beast burger joint doesn't even exist. They use other restaurants to cook the food. He acts like he needs to fucking make burgers or people are going hungry. It's hilarious. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. It kills me. It really does. It bothers me because, like I explained to my son, I said, if somebody in your house is sick, right? Say you live with a few people and somebody comes home and they're sick. Do the other people in the house get healthier or do they get sick because somebody in the house is sick? It's the same with the company. It's the same with anything where if you introduce toxicity If that isn't stomped out or quarantined or contained, it's going to spread. And if you got a guy at the top saying like, man, my mental health is really fading, he said he feels like a zoo animal. I don't know. If I said that, people would be like, if I said that on an interview, like, man, I'm working so much right now, I feel like a zoo animal. Pretty sure I wouldn't get the job. Pretty sure people would not be like, this is a guy who's working hard enough. People would be like, why don't you take a day? Why don't you take a little you time? Get your head right so you don't feel like a hee-haw. You know what I mean? Are donkeys in zoos? Yeah, they are. Bays, what's up, Bays? Good to see you. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. This Mrbeast thing's it's embarrassing for him. And it probably, I'm guessing so many people that work for him or worked for him are reading this article, listening to that podcast he was on and going, yeah, that's how he treats us. That's exactly how he treats us. And that to me is the horrifying thing. Because when you got a guy who can't even control his own company, like he is saying he's not the person running the zoo. He didn't say, I feel like I'm running a zoo, which I've even said, I'm like, this place is a zoo, you know? And I'm in charge of kids. And you're like, this is like a zoo, man. There's food everywhere. There's crumbs all over the place. Mrbeast didn't say he felt like he was running the zoo. Mrbeast felt like a zoo animal. It seems like Mrbeast has lost control. And a tough, smart person to me would be able to, number one, see that coming and do something about it, you know? Be like, I'm a little too burnt. And the thing is I know Mrbeast is in the YouTube videos, but let's be real, Mrbeast. Like, you're not, I'm pretty sure you're not an essential worker. I just love how, like, you know, he pretends like everything he's doing couldn't be done on Zoom if he just needed to get away. Like phones don't exist. Like, we have technology to make your life easier, and these people are complaining like, it's just so hard. It's like, how do you think the people that don't have your choices, like your choice to say, we're going to stop, we're going to go, don't have those choices, can't make those choices. If they make those choices, they go hungry. How do you think those people feel? It's the fucking balls on this guy to be like, average people could do what I do. No, they probably could. Number one, you could probably easily follow you around for a week and be like, oh yeah, I could do this. I'll probably do it better. When people are doing crazier stuff than you are, crazier jobs than you are, and they're doing it so they can eat tonight. The balls on him. Big balls on that guy. Big balls, time to pick up. So it's infuriating. Especially infuriating because this Fortune.com article, that's why because they then started comparing him to like Steve Jobs and these other CEOs that felt run down. I'm like, yeah, no shit, you're gonna feel run down. You're running a big company. But the thing is if you want to go to Ibiza or the south of Spain or the north of France or the Galapagos Islands to see them tortoises I keep hearing about, if you want to go, you can go. Not only do you have the money, but you can give yourself the time off. You can do all that to refresh and recharge. People who work for a living that have to earn their vacation time can't just do that. So instead of complaining, maybe be grateful. And I'm very grateful for everybody who watches this live stream. I'm very grateful for living in a day and age where we can do this. This is cool. And I love it. I'm absolutely blessed. And I thank you, everybody who's subscribed, who's joined the community. But I mean, this needs to be called out. This needs to be called out. Acting like YouTube is some like essential worker job where you're just running to the ground. I just can't believe the language. Mrbeast, number one, here's my advice, Mrbeast. Number one, take a mental health day and call it a vacation, okay? This is why I used to see celebrities go to the hospital for dehydration or exhaustion. It's like, no, they're drug addicts, and that's okay. Just say that, you know? That's okay. First step, recognize you got a problem. Um, Mr. Beast, take a mental health day and call it a vacation. I would take a mental health month. And really, when you're doing that, you need to find like some good people to be around you. A spiritual advisor, somebody who's willing to tell you no. That's a tough thing to do. You want to know who's a tough person? The people that are close by to these psychotic CEOs who think they're the victim in all circumstances. They're the wealthiest victims in the world. The tough people are the ones that can tell them people, no, you need to check yourself. That's hard to do. You ever try to tell your boss when he's like, I got a great idea, and it's stupid, and you're like, nah, boss, I hate to break you, that's not a good idea. People need to hear that. You're doing society and them a favor, but most people can't do that. That's a very tough thing to do. I don't know why tough is like considered push-ups or ice baths, but tough is like holding your own, having character, saying no when the world is saying yes to something that's detrimental or unethical or unhealthy. Like in this case, it sounds like Mr. Beast was pleading on a podcast for somebody to help him. So my advice, Mr. Beast, I won't thank you for watching, hit subscribe. I'm not just going to critique you, I'm going to give you constructive criticism. I'm going to tell you how to solve your problem. So just so you know, Mr. Beast, you own your businesses. You can stop. Like YouTube, is YouTube holding you hostage? Maybe YouTube's holding Mr. Beast hostage. If so, blink twice. Let us know. But as far as I know on YouTube, like you're not forced to make content. You don't have to. So I would say take a long mental health week, month, year, and call it a vacation. Say I'm going on sabbatical. Great YouTuber, by the way. And then find some good people to surround yourself with. It seems like you're living in a bubble, which is sickening, dangerous, and very unhealthy. And that's not my opinion. That's what you said in the interview. You shouldn't feel like a zoo animal. No one should feel like a zoo animal. That's why I speak out every single day. That's why I do what I do. That's why I do this news commentary. Because nobody should feel like a zoo animal. In America, the land of the free, the greatest country in the world. Oh, sorry, my eyes are rolling into the back of my skull. But in a land like that, no one at work should feel like a zoo animal. Unless you're a zoo animal. But even zoo animals shouldn't feel like that, you know? Like, that's why they give them bigger enclosures. So no one should feel like a zoo animal. And you're pleading for help, Mr. Beast. That's what I'm going to change the title of this to once I get off. Mr. Beast, you're pleading for help. And that's why on my LinkedIn it says CEO coach, because I'm here to coach you. I'm here to give you some of my life wisdom. Take a break and get new people around you. And you're going to be healthier. And here's the thing. I believe you might have a spark of creativity. I believe you might be able to do even better than what you're doing. I think you wanted to get to 1 billion subscribers, Mr. Beast. Well, let me tell you, if you're sputtering out, it's not because you're not doing enough. It's you're doing too much. Less is more, as they used to say in radio. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. There's my advice, bud. Take a break, and when you come back, you'll be refreshed, recharged, and hopefully you won't feel like a zoo animal. Because not only do I believe CEOs shouldn't feel like a zoo animal because they set the company culture, but no working person, no person just trying to earn enough to have rent and food and heat should feel like a zoo animal. It sounds like a gross scream for help, Mr. Beast. It really does. Sounds like you're screaming for somebody to help you. And I'm sorry to say, I think you got a bunch of yes men, a bunch of people who are willing to let you sacrifice yourself on the altar of the Mr. Beast Feastables chocolate bar tray. Just so, I don't know. Because is the world better because you were in it? Have people's lives changed for the better because you're here? Do your YouTube videos? I know you cured blindness or whatever, but I want you to think about that. You know, in the ultimate scheme of things, are people better because they met you? I don't think so right now. I think there's a big unhealthy facade, and this article is screaming. I mean, Mr. Beast's own words, I feel like a zoo animal. if you have that much money, you've started your own business, you've accomplished your goals, and you're still saying you feel like a zoo animal, what does that say to everybody else? I want everybody else to use some critical thinking right now and understand that what he's telling you is you can do all I did. You're still going to be miserable. What does that say? Things got to change. And that should, Mr. Beast, this is what I would do too if I was Mr. Beast. I would turn around, I would halt the company, I would say, I'm not feeling healthy right now. I want to give everybody some vacation time. Everybody. From the part-time editors to my right-hand man. Everybody take some vacation time. We're gonna reset and readdress everything, in 1 month's time. And go off and let's all come back refreshed. Everything's paid. He's made 85 million last, like you can do this kind of stuff and that would impact people so greatly. But maybe he's maybe it's all fake. Maybe he's trying to gain sympathy. I don't know. This article in the podcast, The Diary of a CEO, it really seems like it's just trying to get people to be like, oh, poor CEOs. It's so tough for them. This climate for CEOs is really hard. Where it's like, no, what you're saying is like, I achieved all my goals. If I said to 10-year-old Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson, like, you did it, 370 million subs, 85 million a year, all this, but I feel like a zoo animal. What it says is like, all that work for what? That's what you're saying on this podcast, Mr. Beast. All that work. I don't have a family. People don't like me. I'm surrounded in controversy. My workers are abused, allegedly. I did a chocolate company, a burger company. I get to do YouTube for a living, and all for what? So you can feel like a zoo animal? Mr. Beast, I don't make any money on this YouTube channel, and the second I log off, I'm so grateful that I got to do this. I get such a thrill when I see a new sub. When somebody, whether they disagree or not talking about the trolls, when somebody leaves a comment, when I sparked a thought, when somebody's like, oh, that's a cool recommendation, or, we're collaborating on what we could change or how we should change it, or when we make a joke. I live for this moment in the day. I'll work a shit job just to have health care that I can't even afford. My wife is working two full-time jobs just so we can eat. And you know what? We're so thankful. We've got beautiful kids. Live in the raddest fucking town ever. I get to talk to like cool-ass people all the time. And I don't feel like a zoo animal. I wish I was making money on this. I wish this live stream brought me money. I wish I had more subs. I wish those are all my goals, but this is the greatest thing in the world. I always thought when I was working in radio for 20 years, I was like, I didn't have the vision some of these YouTube kids thought. They were like, I'm gonna make money playing video games, and I was like, this is brilliant. When I was on radio, I was like, that's stupid. Oh, you're a YouTuber. I was so dumb. I was so young and stupid, and I regret that I was so naive and ignorant. Because, goddamn, kids, if you can make a living playing video games, go for it. That's awesome. Awesomest thing in the world. Imagine that. You're like, I go to work, log in, play some Minecraft. That is why we created society. So kids could play Minecraft and make $1 million. And here this dude is. He did it all. And he said, I feel like a zoo animal. A zoo animal. What is it, feeding time? Somebody got to clean your poo? I'm sure he has a chef. You know what I mean? This guy is so ungrateful. Mr. Beast is so ungrateful. Just be happy you're not cold in the winter, all right? You know what it's like to be cold in the winter? You can't get warm enough. You forget that feeling, Mr. Beast? Well, like Alanis Morissette said, I'm here to remind you. All right, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, read that article. Read that article and then leave me a comment. Tell me what you took from that. Did you feel bad for Mr. Beast? Did you feel bad for a guy who is making $85 million a year, doing everything he ever wanted to do, and just is making himself work too much. Is that how you say it? He's forcing himself to work too much. The fucking nerd wants to play a board game. Just, Mr. Beast, just go play the board game. Life is short. As the kids used to say, YOLO. Take that time. Go play some Risk, homie. Whatever. Fields of Catalan or whatever the game is. I don't know what he likes to play. Just go play a board game. Because one day you're going to be in a box and they're going to make YouTube videos about it. And you ain't going to go, I wish I felt more like a zoo animal. You're going to say, I wish I played that board game, Mr. Beast. So I'm imploring you. I'm trying to do what the people you think love you the most won't do. Maybe they are doing it. I don't know. But I'm trying to do that. And even though I don't like you, I do not like you. As soon as I catch whiff of how people treat their employees, that aroma, I just can't let it go. Give all your employees a bonus, send them all on vacation, and then go play your board game, Mr. Beast. And this is coming from a guy who does not like you. I don't like you as a person. I don't like you because you steal creativity from other people and don't credit them. I don't like you because the way you treat your employees. But I'm going to even override all that and love the people I don't like. Even though I don't like you, I can still love you. I'm telling you, go take a mental health day. Go play that board game, buddy. Let 10, 12, 15-year-old, whenever you start at 14-year-old Mr. Beast, go let him enjoy that board game. You've earned it. Is that what you need someone to say, Mr. Beast? You've earned it. Is that what you're waiting for? Somebody to pat you on the head and say, you've earned it? Stop whining in public, in interviews, that you feel like a zoo animal. Stop. It's unbecoming. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Much love.